Long, Season 1, Episode 8. Thoughts? This episode is called Follow Me, My Friend, to Glory at the End. Another episode I love. Spoilers for everything the MCU leading up to and including this episode, but not for anything after. I have not watched the 9th episode yet. I will almost definitely do so later today. Yes, yes, the episode is rated 14 plus, so will this video be? Let's dive right in. So, yeah, I was not at all expecting. I would have guessed this. Like, I had to like remind myself several times that no, there's another episode left. I don't. I guess I have a vague idea of what might be in the finale, but yeah. Anyway, I'm not gonna spend forever theorizing about it since I'm gonna be watching it. These were released on the same day. Yeah, I would have guessed that the kind of stuff that happens in this episode was like the actual finale. So yeah, really excited to. Glad I'm not gonna have to wait very long to see what happens next. Yes, so lot to love in this one. Let's see, yeah, I cannot keep track of what happens when. Let's just go with, yeah, I suppose, yeah, some of the first stuff that happens is, Jen and Billy talking, about Rio and Lilia's sacrifice, and, yeah, some good stuff there. And the thing about, yeah, it makes a lot of sense that Agatha's ex is death. I like how this did not have that much like MCU style humor. It really is going all in on the witch stuff and the atmosphere and such. It's really not trying to do the I think it's called 4 quadrants, try to appeal to everyone, have something for absolutely everyone kind of thing. It is very much like, I'm sure there are a number of people who feel like this is just, this is not MCU enough for me. This is not mainstream enough for me, And I seriously respect them for taking that chance. I really don't think, I think the idea that any one piece of medium has to appeal to everyone, I really don't think that's a good idea. I think every piece of media should have at least one group of people that is just not trying to appeal to. Now, and ideally you'll want that to be a group of people who deserve to not constantly have everything catered to them like us cishet white dudes. Now, let's see. Yes, so then we have Rio and Agatha. I kind of love how, I suppose it's possible that'll change. I guess everything's subject to change in the finale, because it seems like there was something going on. But anyway, it's, yeah, based on this episode, kind of this entire show was, at least in part, not entirely, this like lovers' quarrel that we did not stay out of. This it's just, yeah, it's the story of these two toxic exes who, with their messy relationship, and them trying to work out, yeah, yeah. And we see, apparently, I guess that is what was always going to happen if they had kissed earlier, and that, actually, maybe, no, maybe not, because yeah, I'm not 100% sure. Anyway, yeah, and she breaks up with Rio, and it's a really strong moment, and that is like, if you are in a toxic relationship, it might just be best to break up. Not all toxic relationships can or should be saved. And so I haven't watched Jessie Gender's video on these last 2 episodes yet, because, doing this before I'm watching the very last episode, she's been doing a trans reading of Billy. I can imagine this. I don't know, possibly not her specifically, but I figure there's probably at least one trans person out there who, because it works extremely well with this one. Like, they're literally, okay, so Rio is an authority on, or deemed an authority on what is okay. And she says that when Billy transitioned from one phase of life into something else, she thinks that's wrong. She wants to put a stop to it, kill him. and she's worried that he's going to go out and trans someone else. So yeah, this is very clearly, yeah, if transphobia were a person, it would be this character. Thankfully, only like allegorically, because I don't want to hate Aubrey Plaza's Rio. She's such a fun character. I really look forward to seeing her. She better pop up in something else down the line. You cannot cast Aubrey Plaza as Death, have her play it this pitch perfect, write it so well, and then only have her in this one thing. There's just no way. They are sitting on gold. Now, let's see. I think that pretty well covers that scene. Yeah, I appreciate, this thing of like, yeah, Agatha promised Rio Billy in return for her powers back. And at first I did actually think that she was just pretending, but no, he did, he appeals to her, bringing up Nikki. That was also, like, the thing about, why do you let them believe what they say about you and, your son? And she says, because the truth is too awful. And based on her reaction, yeah, because the thing, they said, it seemed like they believed that she gave up her son to get the Darkhold. But then Billy says, was this how Nikki, what happened to Nikki? Because it kind of seems like that is what happened. Yeah, maybe she's proving, maybe she doesn't want him to die believing that about her. Or something along those lines. I wonder if we're gonna get to know the details of what happened with her son in the next episode. But yeah, it is one of those things, sometimes something terrible that you can control feels better to believe, to have others believe, than something terrible that you can't control. That is, you see that there are a number of members of minority communities who embrace negative stereotypes. And some of them are like trying to reclaim them and say, no, it can actually be a good thing. But some of them just live that way because if you don't try to escape the negative stereotype, then you can't fail at making other people see you in a different light. And yeah, I think that covers everything for that scene. The fact that Agatha actually sends away Rio, knowing that the Earth Witch trial is coming up, that shows how determined she is to get Rio out of her life, or death, as it were. And that was also very powerful. When I die long, long from now, I won't see your face. I think it was something like that. And yeah, I mean, to her turning into flowers, she's not going to see her face. Same thing actually happened to Hugh Jackman once. And let's see, I appreciated the banter as they walk further on the Witch's Road. And when, like, Agatha, she's doing the big act, I thought one of the other two was just going to outright say, but I guess their silence speaks volumes. They're not buying the act anymore. They know by now, this Agatha, it's not you. Like, they're basically just letting her blow off steam, because it almost feels like, well, if they were like, oh, Agatha, we know this isn't you, she'd be like, ha! The old Cartman, but I got you kinda, but no, it actually is, because it's clear, it's an act. She's trying to control her image. She doesn't want their pity, and turns out it was a circle, and they've been trying to jam a square peg through it this whole time, and yeah, they wake up in body bags, which, I feel like when they were making this show, when they were in the writer's room, they just sat down and thought of, okay, what can we get away with without getting, like, let's see, for TV, is it 16 plus or something? And the equivalent of an R rating, because yeah, they're pushing it about as far as they can. You know, later in this episode, there's a kid that's drowned by other kids. You know, this is they're really going for as dark as they can. And after Billy gets out and then Agatha gets out, Jen really hates it. Like, you know, and Billy is about to free her, and then Agatha says, "Don't steal her struggle," which, yeah, I mean, there is something to be said. You know, I don't think I myself would be able to let someone, you know, I mean, if she stays in there for long enough, if she genuinely can't stop panicking, Anakin, and unzip the thing from inside, she's going to asphyxiate. That is a thing that's going to, you know, so, yeah. But there is something to be said for letting, you know, sometimes someone has to go through a thing, in this case a body bag, for themselves. You know, you can't, not everything in life is something that you can help someone through, as much as it's painful not to. Took me a while to get to a point where I had to, you know, and I don't even have kids or anything, but yeah. Anyway, let's see. Yeah, and you know, the thing about, you know, well, it's technically the Green Witch trial, but there's no water, there's no soil, you know, yeah. And the fact that the brooch turns out to be part of the solution to it was quite clever. And yeah, Jen realizes it was Agatha who bound her, you know, because you can't bind someone without magic. And yeah, this thing of like, I don't know, you were just, you know, it was Tuesday, what do you want? You know, I just, they paid a lot of money to take away your magic, you know, and that's also one of these things, like, if you're a con artist for a long time, yeah, you might eventually, someone's eventually going to catch up to you and realize you were the one who conned them. And there might be consequences. And considering how many times Jen says the exact same words, I think it's like, you hold no power over me, or something like that. She says it like 10 times. I'm not even sure, I'm exaggerating there. You know, the was it a fill the page kind of thing? Did someone just discover copy paste? I'm just kidding. Considering that, the actress did a great job. Like, it didn't feel tedious, even though she said. And I can imagine, like, I know there's some ideas of magic where there's a lot of repetition. You know, ritual is important in these things. So I wouldn't rule out that is like just a realistic depiction of how, you know, what did they say? An unbinding spell, you know. And it works, and she, you know, teleports away. I will say, I was worried that she was gonna end up dead. I guess there's still the last episode, but apparently, like, I heard Nando talk about that she's supposed to be in the Midnight Suns, so that's gonna be cool. Yeah, right, and the thing with kale, that's the worst of the vegetables. Agatha, be careful. If you think about that when you're going to sleep, you're gonna wake up in keen dreams, which is just not quite as good as the following Keen games. There, I said it. And the ice cold take from 1991. But let's see. What was the other thing? Right. When Jen ties Agatha's hands, Agatha says something along the lines of, "Is this really the time and place for this?" Which I guess means that she's not picking up what's being laid down by Jen. She is not smelling what the Jen is cooking. She thinks that they're about to engage in something that age range 14 plus. I think you know where I'm going with this. If you're old enough to know, I think you already know where I'm going with that. And I'm almost certain that's where the show was going with that. That, yeah, they're not really holding back with this whole, yeah. It is more mature. than a lot of other MCU. And yeah, the thing with her helping, Agatha helping Billy, and that thing about, of course you can find someone. There's 120 new every minute. Yeah. And just before he excuse me, I thought I cleared my throat enough before starting to record. Just before he disappears, he asks the question, am I killing this kid to bring my brother back to life? Yeah. Because, he does have reality warping powers. That is something that was very distinctly hinted at when he says, I wish Lilia was here, and then Lilia is there. So, yeah, very, very sensible question. And, she does say, although he doesn't hear it at the time at least, no, sometimes boys just die. And let's see. Yeah, I seriously appreciate them actually acknowledging, yeah, sometimes people end up dead as a result of a prank or bullying. That is something that really needs more attention. Now, I think that pretty well gets us to, yeah, she grows the thing and then the entire place collapses and she just barely gets out. As far as I can tell, she's leaving through the Snoopers Be Snooping place. And Aubrey Plaza. Do they give Emmys for streaming? Because if not, I think they should start for this. Because holy crap, like, she is just on fire in this entire next sequence. Just so freaking good. And yeah, the thing about, their exchanges. And I like the thing about, when she calls you a coward, hit the deck. And which is also an interesting thing because that happened after the death. So, yeah. And let's see. I think, yeah, and the thing about, death by 1,000 cuts and, glass all over her face and arms. And yeah, they're really pushing, like, it. I think they couldn't have gotten away with it if you saw the cut happen. But you're allowed to see the thing that causes the cut and the resulting cut. And we're also not seeing that much, like, running or dripping blood. But it's still, this is much more than you would have gotten away with on this sort of rating, just, I don't know, 5 or 10 years ago, Think about how careful, some of the early MCU was to hide any and all violence. But yeah, and she ties her up using, like, thorny branch, I think it was. So they already did the Evil Dead episode earlier, the slasher one where they're, with the Ouija board and the whole thing. I didn't think they were going to go there again, much less, like, in some ways more intense, like, bringing up one of the most controversial Evil Dead scenes in all of the, yeah, all 5 films. But yeah, they went there. They went eviler and deadlier. And I'm here for it. And yeah, very clever. There's she tries to form the circle, and she tries to, like, bless, or not bless it, whatever. Do something with water. And yeah, Billy shows up, getting the big hero entrance, very, very cool. And starts using telekinesis to fight Rio. I hope they change this. Well, actually, yeah, didn't they already do or was that only for mind control? There was a distinct, like, visual for his powers in that earlier episode when he was mind controlling Jenna and Lilia. But here, we only see the results of the, we see him move his hands, and we see we see Rio being pushed by the telekinesis, but we're not seeing, because they've been very careful to always have a visual representation of Wanda's powers every time she uses them. So, well, possibly some of the WandaVision, she used them without, within the show, but other than that, and yeah, I kind of hope they change that for future appearances, but, it didn't go on for forever. I respect the, if they want to do something different, I just think it slightly hurts how legible it is as an action scene, And yeah, they do a really great job. Like, that is a very good approximation, MCUification of the comic costume. So, very nicely done there. It was interesting that, Rio tosses Billy away. He lands in, like, a greenhouse. And then there's actually a bit of Witch's Duel that takes place off-screen. We just hear, and then we see the very end of it. That was an interesting directorial decision. I mean, it's not like the episode didn't need more action, but yeah, I don't know. The fact that they stayed on him was yeah. I don't dislike it. I'm not 100% sure yet I understand it. And yeah, I really do appreciate her sacrificing herself to save Billy. And that was also something I might have even said it in an earlier video, but I was wondering if it was going to end with her maybe self-sacrificing to redeem herself. And I think that does cover... Yeah. He leaves, walking past the Westview residence, and there was definitely some evoking of Wanda leaving Westview as well at the end of WandaVision, and it was also... It was kind of amusing. I didn't think this episode needed MCU-style jokes, but the bit with, the neighbors are seeing, the some of the stuff going on with or I guess they're just seeing the dark skies, really. And, one of them just looks up and, and another's like, is it happening again? And another's, I don't know, dude. Please find out if it's the right train from somebody else. I did kind of enjoy that joke. Not a good movie, but did kind of enjoy that joke. Then we have he goes to the car, drives home, and, we're told he's been gone for 24 hours, which, that all happened in 24 hours? Of course the Witch's Road can do it in 24 hours. It's the Witch's Road. It can do whatever it wants. I kind of want to watch one of those. Again, it's been years since I watched. Yeah. Anyway, let's see. Then we have... Yeah, and the thing with, the parents are like, oh, what's wrong? You're bleeding, and he's like, I'm fine. Just, yeah. And then we get this thing that, like, at first I thought they were gonna do a thing of like, oh, it was just a dream kind of thing, which I really feel like would have been a waste. But apparently the idea is that he made it happen with his reality warping magic. At least that's the vibe I get from the end of the... And I'm not sure who's cackling and goes boo. I guess it could be Agatha, maybe it's Rio. But yeah, if I appreciate now that it wasn't pointless. I still think it's funny to imagine the show just poking fun at Lost. But the episode where we see where we see William before Billy inhabits his body, we did see, he knew he encountered the various witches, and yeah, so maybe they weren't really there, or maybe he drew them there, I guess, is possible as it. Yeah, maybe episode 9 will clear up exactly how much of it was real, if that really is, if not all of it was. Yeah. I'm just gonna make sure if that's anything I need to... There we go. And what does... Okay, yeah, that can wait. And there we go. Yeah, so the... yeah, I think that might just about, yeah, it was cool with, get a couple of clips from earlier episodes that kind of, suggest, little hints that this was, you know, Billy's magic, reality warping, making this all happen. And I think they did a good job. I did not clock any of those when I first watched those episodes. I wasn't like, oh, this is just gonna turn out to be, no. And let's see, is that really everything? Wow, this kind of turned out a shorter video than usual. So let's see, the IMDb trivia just notes there's like a thing about oh, actually, when I glanced at this before hitting record, I thought this might be a spoiler, but actually, I guess, I don't know enough to say if it is a spoiler. There's something about Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which I haven't watched. I might at some point, despite how, problematic Joss Whedon is now. But yeah, I feel like that might actually be everything for this episode. Right, yeah, the thing about, yeah. I know, don't worry, I don't trust Agatha. She's right behind me, isn't she? But, before that, he does say, I know she's nothing but a covenless witch. Or never be anything but a covenless witch. And she's like, gee, thanks. And then later, when she's seemingly sacrificing him, she is trying to sacrifice him, but then she changes, yeah. I'm nothing but a covenless witch. Oh, right, I even though I felt pretty confident that they were going to keep around Billy, because Young Avengers, there were a few seconds there where I was like, is she actually going to kill him, to absorb all of his power and life force, And yeah, this does also confirm she can choose. She can choose not to absorb at least by this point. I suppose it's possible she couldn't back when she was dealing with her own coven, but certainly by this point she can, and she did choose to, So yeah, there's some character growth there, and then she does also self-sacrifice. Yeah, I really think they've done a great job on the show so far, and I can hardly wait to watch the finale, and I'm not even going to have to wait for very long.